Mariner Books and HarperAudio present A Town Without Time. Gay Talese's New York by Gay Talese. Read by Michael Ortego. To the women in my life, Nan, and our daughters, Pamela and Catherine. Introduction. In his 92nd year, Gay Talese occupies a peerless perch in American journalism. He's one of the last of the journalistic literary lines left. There's no practitioner of narrative nonfiction who doesn't have to reckon with his work. His stories are studied with the same scholarship reserved for literature. And there's nary a journalism student who can escape being assigned Frank Sinatra has a cold. So you might be wondering, why does this guy need another book of his collected works? The reason is that this book corrects an injustice. You see, despite all the veneration accorded to Talese, there's still one aspect of his journalism that has eluded sufficient critical recognition, which is his role as one of the great chroniclers of New York, worthy of a place as a spiritual contemporary to Joseph Mitchell. The air is always getting sucked out of the room by his position as a pioneer of new journalism, as a debonair Manhattan literary celebrity, as the author of the controversial Thy Neighbor's Wife, and as the writer of that damned Frank Sinatra profile. But the city has long been a vital character in Talese's work, even when he was writing about it indirectly, and it gave him his first creative fuel as a cub reporter for the New York Times 70 years ago. For my own part, as a young reporter for the Times who writes about the city as his beat, Talese's writings on the metropolis have served as a North Star, so the absence of a book formally honoring them has always been glaring to me. Thankfully, this collection helps make the case for why Talese is on the level with Mitchell. I'd argue that the city is what first defined Talese's work, which is why we must go back to the beginning to understand this element of his journalistic identity. After paying his dues in the early 1950s as copy boy for the Times, his first job as a reporter at the paper was on the sports desk. There he filed beautiful and unlikely stories about bare-knuckle fighters, horse jockeys, barbell lifters, and a dentist who made mouthpieces for boxers. Although sport was ostensibly his beat, the city was undeniably present in these pieces, and he exploited it as a character in his reportage to bring readers into the sweaty boxing rings of Gleason's and the dugouts of Yankee Stadium. This collection's first section, The Unnoticed, picks up right after that. Talese is now 29 and working for the Metro desk of the Times, and he's just published his debut book, New York, A Serendipitous Journey. The book was a love letter to the city, filled with his vignettes about street barkers, Bowery bums, barflies, waterfront eccentrics, a George Washington impersonator, and New York's then tallest man, Eddie Carmel, who stood 8 feet 2. But the book, which featured photographs by Marvin Lichtner, would become an obscurity in Talese's back catalog, and copies of it are rare collector's items today. The first inclusion in this collection is that book's wondrous reported essay, New York is a City of Things Unnoticed. In its opening, Talese gives E.B. White a run for his money. New York is a city of things unnoticed. It is a city with cats sleeping under parked cars, 2 stone armadillos crawling up St. Patrick's Cathedral, and thousands of ants creeping on top of the Empire State Building. The ants probably were carried up there by wind or birds, but nobody is sure. Nobody in New York knows any more about the ants than they do about the panhandler who takes taxis to the Bowery, or the dapper man who picks trash out of 6th Avenue trash cans, or the medium in the West 70s who claims, I am clairvoyant, clairaudient, and clairsensuous. The second work in this section is The Bridge, Talese's 1964 book about the construction of the Verrazano.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?